It's Tuesday, August 29th, 2023. I want to start out today. I want to apologize if there's been some issues with the sound quality, the audio of these videos. I apologize. It's been brought to my attention in the last couple of days that there's been some humming noise. Now, there were a few things plugged into the room that I believe might have been the culprit here. So we've unplugged all of that. So we'll see if this kind of smooths things out. If it isn't, I will just replace the microphone. So let me know how this sounds. If we've lost that humming sound, hopefully we did. Otherwise, I'm just going to replace the microphone tomorrow. But without further ado, let's get into some serious things here today. I guess everything looks fine. Markets are up. No surprise. Everything's doing just fine as people are losing their jobs left and right, as people struggle every day. Last night, I watched a bunch of videos that were posted on YouTube. A bunch of TikTok videos that somebody posted on YouTube, and it was just you know everyday people who are beginning to ask questions. Again, this was a collaboration of TikTok videos. I don't watch TikTok, but I watched this two YouTube channels that put this collaboration of TikTok videos up, and they were about 15 to 20 minutes long, each one of these videos. And I was really just drawn to these videos of watching everyday people, average, everyday, hardworking Americans make a video and begin to ask questions of what's going on. How come they're struggling to pay their bills, but they're working 40 or 50 hours a week? How come they can't buy a house? How come they can't afford to take a vacation? And this is really beginning to hit home. I was watching one individual, a nurse, I believe her and her husband lived in Ohio. They had 3 kids. She says she makes good money. Her husband makes almost as much money as her. And she says they're struggling. They're not buying anything extravagant. They drive older cars. Their 3 kids go to a public school. And she goes, you know, we go to the grocery store. We don't buy, you know, the fanciest of foods. And she goes, we make good money, but we're barely getting by. And if we're barely getting by, how are other folks doing who aren't making the kind of money we're making? And I figured, you know, her and her husband were probably making, you know, $115,000 household income in Ohio, which is very good money. But even in Ohio now, household income of over $100,000, people are beginning to realize that it's not enough. And it should be enough, but it's not. And people are beginning to get worried. There was another woman who was actually filming a video inside of her car before she had to go into work, talked about how she gets up with her daughter. She gets up at 4:30, plays with her daughter at 5 o'clock, gets her ready, takes her to school, so then she goes to work. And she works 40 hours a week. Her husband works 50 hours a week. They drive average vehicles. And she said she works her butt off 40 hours a week. Her husband working, you know, 12-hour days. And by the end of the week, after they pay all their bills and their taxes, she goes, we can't even afford to go out to a nice restaurant and have some quality time. And she goes, it's not even, she goes, why do I even work? I'm barely even getting by. And we're going to see and hear more of this. And people are beginning to realize that, yeah, they're making more money, but it's not keeping up with the cost of living. It's not keeping up with inflation. It's not keeping up with gas prices. It's not keeping up at the grocery store. And this is, you know, really sad. It's disturbing what's happening. And we're watching, you know, the middle class, we're watching that lower middle class be absolutely annihilated. They're working as hard as they can. They can't get ahead. They worry about, you know, how they're going to take care of their kids. And who knows where all this is going to be in the next 6 to 12 months. I believe it's probably going to be worse than it is now, unfortunately. And, you know, I make these videos, and I know a lot of people believe I'm just one of those people. The sky is falling, doom and gloom. Somebody please correct me where I've misled any one of you with any of these economic reports or realities of what's happening in the real world. Do you really believe for 1 second that the average American is better off now than they were 5, 10, 20 years ago? Do you think the average American now has more money saved up than they did 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago? Do you really think the average American is making more money now than they were in 1975? They're not. Do you think there's more opportunity now than there was 10, 20, 30, 50 years ago? There is not. Do you really believe that we're not in a stock market bubble, a bond bubble, a housing bubble? Do you really believe that? I've done nothing but be as honest as I possibly can with each and every one of you. I'm just looking at the data. I'm just reading this stuff. I'm just doing my due diligence and I'm sharing it with you. Any one of you can do this. Don't take my word for this. Do your own due diligence. But I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to figure out what's going on. All you have to do is talk to your friends. All you have to do is look at your savings account. Look at your retirement account. All you have to do is look how much money you spend when you go to the grocery store, when you fill up the gas tank. Do you really believe things are going to get better in the next 6 to 12 months? I certainly don't. But somebody please point out where I've misdirected or exaggerated in any shape or form. I have done nothing but tell the truth. I'm very, very concerned about where all this is going, the direction of this country, the average consumer, the average household. This is getting very, very scary, ladies and gentlemen. And when I watched these TikTok videos last night and I see people who more than likely a couple years ago were very, very asleep. Now they're beginning to realize that they're in very big trouble. And I've been making these videos for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it is. I saw the writing on the wall like many of you did. And I began to prepare. And I probably should have prepared even more. And I probably should prepare even more than I am now. But I'm prepared more than most, and I know in your situation, you're probably prepared more than most also. And I'm going to continue to prepare. And most of all, I'm going to continue to ask questions. I'm going to continue to read. I'm going to continue to learn. And that's, I think, one of the most important things we can do. It's the cheapest thing we can do is ask questions, learn, and educate ourselves right now with what is going on. And we have to first off be honest with ourselves. You know, there's people that can read all this stuff and they're so delusional. They will not believe that the shopping mall's closed. They will not believe that the hospital closed. They will not believe that that office building is closed. They will not believe any of this. They will not believe the amount of debt that this country is in, the amount of trouble that we're in. They just won't believe it, even though it's all around them. There's such this delusion taking place where people just cannot face the truth. Well, I'm here to tell every one of you the truth. I'm going to continue to tell the truth. And this next article coming from the economiccollapse.com, 8 signs that we are right on the verge of a major credit card debt crisis. 1, total amount of credit card debt in the U.S. has surpassed over $1 trillion. 2, the average rate on the average credit card right now, 20.63%. Why would anybody be using credit cards if they were doing well, if they're paying almost 21%? You know the answer, because they have to. 47% of cardholders are now carrying balances month over month. National average credit card debt in the U.S., the national level is $7,227,000. And you put 20.6% on that, most people will never be able to pay this off. Most Americans are using credit cards because they're under financial strain. They're using them to pay utility bills, the rent, to go to the grocery store, because there's no money left over on the check because they're paying rent or they're paying mortgage, then they're paying the car payment, and there's nothing left. Delinquencies have skyrocketed. They're up 42.6% over the past 2 years. That is unbelievable. 7, TransUnion conducted a survey and found that borrowers who use personal loans to consolidate their credit card debt saw their balances decrease by 57% on average, but for many, those balances returned close to their previous levels 18 months later. 8, 2 in 5 Americans say that they're more dependent on credit cards than ever before. 35% said they will likely max out at least one of their cards by the end of this year. People are getting maxed out at the worst possible time. Inflation is not going to go to 2%. It's going to continue to go up. Inflation is not going away. It is not transitory. This inflation is not just sticky. It's going to come back with a vengeance. Take a look at what's happening with gas prices right now. That is going to bring in a lot more inflation. We look at the labor pool right now. The labor pool is tightening, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But these are very, very dangerous combinations to go along with massive credit card debt. You do not want to be carrying debt when you don't have a job or you can't find a job. You don't want to be carrying debt when prices of everything is going up, including the interest rate on your credit card. That is almost 21% right now. It's going to go higher. And think about people who are servicing this debt. It's going to get more expensive to service credit card debt. Job openings dropped more than expected in July to 2-year low. This on Fox Business. The Fed is going to slam the brakes on the U.S. economy, ladies and gentlemen. They have begun. We are now going to see the repercussions of all these interest rates over the past year and a half. We're now going to see the repercussions. They're going to cool the labor market, and they're going to cool the housing market. And we're going to see big trouble. And they're going to cool retail because people aren't going to have the money to go out and shop. Now, all these people, 43, 44 million Americans who are going to pay back their student loan debt, they're not going shopping anymore. When people have to make a choice of going to the Nike store or putting food on the table, guess what? They're putting food on the table. Retail is going to be in even more trouble than it is now. Here's another one. Farmers Insurance reducing staff by 2,400 in layoffs. This was announced this morning. Now, I want to emphasize one thing in this video today. Please do whatever you can to not lose your job. This is imperative. You may not like your job. You may hate your job. But if you have a job that is paying you at least decent, or even better, if your job's paying you well, do whatever you can to keep it. Even if you have a disdain for it, you dislike it, you don't like your boss, you don't like the people you work for, it's going to get more and more difficult to replace a good job. And when we think about the 9.9 million jobs out there, the 9.5 million, whatever the number is now, how many of these jobs are even real? I've had so many people write me, I've read so many articles where people have gone and applied hundreds to hundreds of these job applications and never ever heard back, never got a response. So with these 9+ million jobs out there, how many of them are even real? How many are part-time? How many of them are low wage? You do not want to lose a job right now. Getting back to this article, they said over there at Farmers that they needed to better position themselves for a future of long-term profitability and growth. So goodbye to the 2,400. Probably going to be more coming after this massive layoff. There'll be more people getting laid off. But many people, unfortunately, are just a number. Many people that are losing their jobs don't have anything to fall back on. They don't have other skills to fall back on. They don't have assets put away. They don't have cash put away. I've been begging people for 5, 6, 7 years, put money away. Have a war chest ready. Have some assets put away. Worst case scenario, you have to sell some ounces of gold or silver. It's extremely liquid. You get some cash and you can breathe. The problem is when you don't have assets, when you don't have capital put away and you lose a job, you go in panic mode because more than likely you're paycheck to paycheck. Now, think about if you had 6 months of reserves put away and you lost a job. It's not good news. But you don't go into panic mode because you know, hey, I'm going to be able to pay the rent or the mortgage this month. I'm going to be able to feed the kids this month. I can make the car payment this month. We're going to be okay. It gives you time to breathe, to reassess things, and to hopefully get another job. But when you're living paycheck to paycheck and you don't have a paycheck coming next week, you're in trouble. The hedge today, U.S. stocks and bonds surge amid the dovish JOLTS data. Markets were absolutely celebrating today. They're celebrating your job loss. The markets love the bad news. The markets want to see more job losses, and they're going to see more job losses. So, we're in a place where, really, I still believe that the economy is being sacrificed for the stock market, but the stock market is going to collapse at some point. It will either be the housing market that brings it down, or the economy at some point is going to bring it all down. Because when you come to a certain point where so many people are not working and losing homes and 30,000 car repossessions a day, when people can't shop at those corporate stores, when they can't buy those corporate automobiles, everybody is going to feel the pain. So Jerome Powell may be a little happier today with some of the data. The stock market is elated with the good news that you're losing your jobs. And more bad news will be good news for the markets. Home prices rose for 5th straight month in June. This is on Fox Business. But on an annual basis, home prices are down 0.2%. Sales, this is the important one. To me, prices, I don't even care about prices at this point. It's about sales. Sales nationally are down 16.1%. And to me, when you have sales plunging like they are right now, at some point, when you have a failing economy where people are losing their jobs by the thousands every day and inflation is just butchering people, it is only a matter of time before home prices also collapse. I know that there's people out there, I think some people are almost fearful to say that this could be worse than 2008. Hey, we could see a collapse. I think there's people out there almost scared to admit this. Because they go, well, people are in a better position now. The banks made better loans. People put more money down this time. That's wonderful. But at the end of the day, there's a few things that matter here. One of them is jobs. When people don't have jobs, it doesn't matter how much equity is in their house. It doesn't matter what they put down. It doesn't matter what they paid for it. When you don't have a job and you don't have a reserve, you're going to lose your house. Another thing that people really don't want to talk about here are these debt ratios on these properties, the debt to income. When you have 40, 50, 60% of your income going to a mortgage payment to this debt, you're one bad day, one accident away from big trouble, from falling behind. And once people fall 1 month behind, then it's 2 months behind, it's over. They're not coming back. They're going to lose their house. Bankrate.com put the 30-year fixed mortgage today at 7.54%. This is another big problem. There's so many problems in the housing market. And then, of course, Airbnb and all these homes that are not being rented right now. I know people in the Airbnb business, they're dead. They got nothing going on. And how many months can you have 3, 4, 5, 6 houses and they're not renting out for short-term rentals? How long can you hang on with 6 or 7 mortgages? I mean, you can if you have capital, but most people didn't put anything away because they're robbing Peter to pay Paul. As soon as they make money, they're spending money. Oh, hey, this Airbnb is doing pretty good. I'm going to go get 2 more. And people have gotten so overextended, and they never thought about an economy changing, an economy slowing down. They never thought about an economy collapsing. They never thought about risk. Okay, people only think, oh, it's only going to go up. The prices are going to go up. Everybody's going to have money. They're going to rent my short-term, rental properties. They never ever think about risk. They never think about that. And now, again, people are going to learn a very, very valuable lesson here. And unfortunately, most of them are going to lose everything. The hedge today: how big is the U.S. housing bubble? Percentage difference between home prices and real disposable income. In 2006, that number was 54.17%. Today, it's 80.47%. Yet we're being told that, don't worry, it'll be nothing like 2008. If you go back to 1975, the average median home in 1975 was $48,000. Average income was a little over $13,000. So that's basically the home cost was 3 times the income. Today, average income is about $35,000. The average price of a home today is about $408,000. I think that's about 11.5 times, off the top of my head, it's about 11.5 times the average income. How is this sustainable? And on top of this, and we can compare 2008, we didn't have inflation like this back in 2008. The debts and deficits weren't this severe back in 2008. We didn't have an economy this ill back in 2008. People bought homes on adjustable rate mortgages. A lot of people bought homes that shouldn't have bought homes. They bought homes they couldn't afford. And we saw a massive problem with that. This is completely different because we have so many more things going against us that we didn't have in 2008. And on top of that, so many people bought homes in the last 2 years. And we also had a Fed buying mortgage-backed securities, boosting and injecting this bubble. And now people are losing their jobs. Real wages are down. Inflation is creeping back. Opportunity, there just isn't that much opportunity. Cost of everything is continuing to go up. The dollar now going to be in competition at some point with the BRICS. You look at the purchasing power of the dollar, it's horrific. So we're in a whole different place than where we were back in 2008. Most people don't realize that. This economy, this debt, these deficits are completely a different animal compared to what we were dealing with back in 2008. You could still get a job in 2008. You weren't looking at this type of inflation back in 2008. There was much more opportunity back in 2008. I think the banks are in much more trouble now than they were back in 2008. So, you know, there's just so much more going on now. There's so much more danger now in 2023 than there was back in 2008. And of course, the money printing that we've done since then is astronomical. So I don't think I need to say any more about that. Just the money printing alone and what it's done. And of course, the country's completely divided. We've got big trouble, and we've got more bubbles than we know what to do with at this point. Wolfstreet.com, the most splendid housing bubbles in America, August update. Just really quick, just to highlight a little bit of this article. If you get a minute, check it out, do your own due diligence. Of the 20 metros in the Case-Shiller house price index, 10 had year-to-year declines. So while they're trying to tell you that home prices are going up, year over year they're down. But when we look at 10 of these 20 cities, we see year over year drops. San Francisco Bay Area down 9.7%, Seattle 8.8%, Las Vegas prices are down 8.7%, Phoenix 7.5%, Portland 4.2%, Dallas 4.1%, San Diego 2.5%, LA 1.8%, Tampa, Florida 0.9%. So, you know, the television will tell us everything's fine, prices are going up, but in 10 of these 20 metros, they're not going up. Prices are actually coming down. And year over year, we are seeing price declines across the country, ladies and gentlemen. Here's another one from The Hedge. Americans abandon home insurance as ominous sign in era of trouble. Now, think about not just what's happening with home insurance. Think about HOAs. Everybody I know, their HOAs are skyrocketing. Maintenance of a property, take care of a property, repairs, skyrocketing. But according to this article, another ominous sign, consumers are being pushed to the financial brink. Some are now abandoning homeowner insurance due to soaring premiums. This leaves people extremely vulnerable to floods, to fires, to hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, all of that. Now, I personally don't know. I don't believe you can buy a house without insurance unless you're paying cash. Now, if you're financing a house, the bank's going to require that the property is insured. Now, what if you own a home and you've owned this home for a couple of years and all of a sudden you get priced out and you're still financing the house? Please answer this down below. Does the bank come in and demand that you insure the house? What happens at this point? I don't know. I just didn't think you could continue to finance a house without homeowner insurance. Bankrate.com. Insurance, it says here, on a $250,000 home jumped to $1,428. That's annually. That is up 20% from 2022. That is a big chunk of change. And $250,000, that's nothing on a home now, when the average home is $408,000 on average. So I don't know how people are doing it. HOAs, maintenance, homeowner insurance, I don't know. And again, please comment down below. If you own a home and you're financing that home, the bank owns the home, you stop paying the homeowner's insurance, what happens? I believe the bank does step in and you either pay or they're going to take the property back. I could be wrong. Please correct me on that. Another one from The Hedge. New York City's crumbling infrastructure on full display as century-old water line floods Times Square. A 20-inch water line erupted around 3 a.m. this morning under 40th Street and 7th Avenue. I was watching some of the video of this today. It's crazy to see, just things getting flooded out. What's even more crazy is this pipe was installed 127 years ago. Let me repeat this. The pipe that broke this morning was installed 127 years ago. Why in the world does this country have water pipes 127 years old in a city like New York? Why are people sleeping on sidewalks? Why do we have mentally disabled people walking on the streets of America? Why do we have people starving in America? Why in the world do we have billions of dollars leaving this country and going to other countries when we have 127-year-old water pipes in this country? When we have vets sleeping in tents and on sidewalks in this country, when little kids are starving in this country, when people and kids can't even read, write, or do arithmetic because the school system has completely let them down? Why are people in fear of their lives when they're walking down the street? Because there is nobody to protect them. Where is the money, ladies and gentlemen? We're being taxed like crazy. I'm paying more taxes than ever, just like you, and I'm getting less and less and less, but the money seems to be going somewhere. It just doesn't seem like it's going right here to the U.S. I'm going to leave with this last article. TV news crew in Chicago robbed at gunpoint while reporting on robberies. Univision Chicago, the Spanish station, was reporting from the west side early this morning when they were accosted by 3 armed masked men who took their money, wallets, and personal goods. This is, again, just another example of a society collapsing. I think that America is becoming probably one of the most dangerous countries on planet Earth. There are parts of America here that are much more dangerous than any place in the Middle East. And it is appalling to see the collapse of our infrastructure, the collapse of our society, and the collapse of our economy, the collapse of our churches, all taking place at the same time. We can't stop it. There's nothing we can do about it. But what we can do is protect ourselves, prepare our families, and do the best that we can. Again, we're not going to stop what's coming, but we can insulate ourselves the best that we can. I'm going to leave it there today. God bless every one of you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, share this video, and as always, I look forward to speaking with each and every one of you. God bless.